Well, we trekked all the way, not really all the way, to North London to see a Spurs versus City game that was as big and impressive as their fancy new stadium. So much so that we brought Mark Ogden as well. And Oggy, I know you had somewhat low expectations of this given the fact that Liverpool are so far in front, but I think it kind of delivered in a sense, you know. So I want to pick your brain about it. Let's start with the first half, just with the fact that everyone was saying Raheem Sterling should have been sent off. How did you see?
Yeah, I think when you saw it on slow motion, it was a really bad tackle. It was late, it was high on the ankle, and Dele Alli was struggling for quite a while. It was a good 2 minutes where he was limping around. I think that, although there was no intent there, it was a really bad tackle, and that is what you're supposed to be clamping down on, you know. It could have broken his leg. I mean, let's be honest, it could have broken his leg, and sometimes there doesn't have to be intent for it to be a bad foul, and I thought that Sterling should have been sent off, and I don't understand why Mike Dean, the referee, didn't go to the touchline monitor. That's what they've been told to do, and if he'd seen that himself, he could have said, look, that's a red card. He was told it wasn't, but I think it was.
Well, VAR definitely did come into play, though, and we saw a penalty being awarded. Hugo Lloris with a stunning save for that one as well. Hugo Lloris, he's back and looking good.
I think the issue with that was it took so long between the incident and the decision.
Minutes,
you know, the ball had gone about 3 lengths of the pitch in both directions, and it got to the point where it got to a neutral area of the pitch. I think the Premier League said it was in a neutral area so they could stop the game and award a penalty, but Lloris, great save, and then I thought he'd given away another penalty when the follow-up, Raheem Sterling looks to have been fouled, but VAR decided not, but I thought it was contact, so VAR at the centre of discussions once again. At the centre of discussions once again,
and I remember half-time I tweeted, I still can't believe it's 0-0 given the fact of all the action that we've seen and all of the chances that Manchester City had, especially in that first half. We'll get to those in a little bit, but then came the second half, and Zinchenko being sent off. Was that the turning point? Jose Mourinho in his presser said, you know, that is a natural lift that you get, and Spurs absolutely capitalised on it.
I think it was 8 minutes between the sending off and the goal, so obviously it was a turning point, City down to 10 men, but you know, we've seen in the past that teams with 10 men can actually ride it out, and let's be honest, Mourinho teams don't often punish teams when they're, you know, when they have the chance. So it was a turning point, and City just couldn't deal with it because they were defended down, but City should have taken the chances before that. They had 18 chances and just missed them all.
And we'll touch on Manchester City now, because of course we were sat down and I was even talking to one of our producers, and we were just saying, just looking at last year and everything that City won, which was everything, at least here domestically, and then seeing the struggles that are going on now. We're seeing, you know, Pep Guardiola a little bit frustrated, even though he doesn't want to fully admit it. We're seeing Manchester City, of course, having a lot of possession as they did. I think it was like 70% in the first half. As we said, 18 shots at goal, and Spurs had 3. And the fact that we're talking about City not being clinical enough, not taking their chances, what's been the biggest difference? How have they dropped like this?
You know, I've done a piece after the game saying that City aren't what they were last season. Then I checked the stats, and
you found some alarming ones.
Yeah, this time last season they scored, after 25 games, they scored 66 goals. Now they scored 65. So goals-wise, they're scoring the same sort of rate, and they've conceded, I think, 8 more goals than this time last season. I think the issue is they're not taking the chances against the teams when they need to. They're not being clinical enough when a 1 or 2-0 game. Today, if they just scored a goal, it would have killed Tottenham, I think. Last season, they were winning games quite easily. This year, they scored 19 goals in 3 games against West Ham, Aston Villa and Watford. So maybe the figures are a bit skewed by that. But, you know, statistically, they're not far from where they were. I just think they've lost a bit of edge, a bit of clinical nature in front of goal.
What's that down to, though? Because this is City we're talking about, and they do have the players, they do seem to have the squad, they do have the manager.
Yeah, I just think they're missing the detail on key things. And you know, look at John Stones. You know, they've missed Laporte for a lot of the season. Company's gone, but John Stones has just, you know, he's just dropped off the radar. And Pep Guardiola this time last year would have dealt with that. He would have found the reason why, got him playing. But that's what I mean. The minor details that City were dealing with last year, they're not dealing with now. And you know, Stones wasn't even in the squad today. Apparently rested. You know. They had Fernandinho at centre-half, so why is John Stones not playing at centre-half?
And then, of course, we just literally came out of Pep Guardiola's press conference, and it was interesting because he had a lock-in with the players for 45 minutes, was it?
Yeah, 45 minutes, and he came in the press conference and defended them, said he wasn't angry, but clearly he was up to something because it had been locked in the dressing room for so long. So he's disappointed. I can imagine his pride has been bruised. Liverpool are 22 points clear. By the time they got to the Etihad,
that's the title, isn't it?
4th of April, City will probably have to give Liverpool a guard of honour onto the pitch, which might sting a little bit considering that they were the champions last year and the year before. But I don't see how Liverpool can be stopped winning it before then. If they win the next 6 games, they're champions at the Etihad. So, you know, that is a tough one for City to swallow. So that's probably why Pep's quite angry, because, you know, they're not being humiliated, but they're being, all the records they broke in the last 2 years are going to be obliterated by Liverpool. So it must sting.
And Pep in that presser said he thinks it still is a little too early, or it's just too early for him, that he's not even thinking about a rebuild. He's not even thinking about the summer. But do you think he might need to, or do you think there's any arrows pointing that he might not even be there?
I mean, you can always say that he might not be there. You know, he lasted 4 years at Barcelona, I think 3 at Bayern Munich. So you could argue that maybe, you know, this has exhausted him to the point where he doesn't want to be there next year. I don't think we're at that stage yet. But you've always got to have an element of doubt with Pep Guardiola that there might be a situation where he thinks that's enough. If they win the Champions League this season, which is still possible, that might be the point where he says, look, it's worn me out like it wore me out at Bayern Munich and Barcelona. I wouldn't say that is going to happen, but it could do. In terms of planning for next season, City just look like they've got old at the wrong time. You know, they haven't replaced Kompany. David Silva's going to go this summer. They haven't replaced Sergio Aguero yet, and he's probably got another year left. So it's tough. You know, he's got a big rebuild on.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.